Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kembali lagi ke latihan IELTS online bareng Uda Fikri. Kita latihan lagi ya teman-teman. Kayaknya udah saatnya kita latihan full ya. Jadi nggak ini aja, nggak cuma latihan atau practice mode aja, tapi yang mock test mode ya. Jadi yang full, biar kita tahu kira-kira band kita berapa ya. Karena udah tinggal 1 bulanan lagi nih teman-teman. Oke, siap ya? Kita mulai dari listening. Bismillah, waktunya adalah 4 berapa ini? Ya pokoknya gitulah ya. Coba ini. Choose your conditions with play pause control. Oh, else on computer format. Oh ya, ini aja lah yang without play and pause control ya. Kita coba. Ntar, ini rekamannya jalan apa enggak? Oke. Ya, enggak jalan. Bismillah. Ya betul 40 menit.
This recording is copyright. In the IELTS test, you hear some recordings and you have to answer questions on them. You have time to read the instructions and questions and check your work. All recordings are played only once. The test is in 4 parts. Now look at part 1. You will hear a woman phoning an estate agent to ask about flats for rent. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Hello, Colvin Lettings, James Lansman speaking. How can I help?
Oh, hello. I'm just calling to see what flats you currently have available to rent.
Certainly, madam. What sort of place are you looking for?
Well, a 2-bed flat is what I'm really aiming for, but I'm open to other possibilities.
Of course. Well, we'll see what we can do. What area are you thinking of?
Either in the east side or the old port. I work in the center, you see, but obviously I don't really want to live in the center. Who would?
I see. When are you thinking of moving?
It would need to be sometime before the 13th of September, as that's when the contract on my old place runs out.
So before the end of September, then?
No, the middle of September, the 13th.
Oh, right, sorry. I thought you said the 30th. And do you have a set amount that you'd be willing to spend?
Around £900 a month.
Ah. Well, it might be difficult to find a 2-bed flat in those areas for that price. Could you go up to 1,200?
Well, I suppose for the right place, I could just about stretch to 1,100.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll have a quick look at what properties we've got available in those areas and give you a ring back. How does that sound?
That'd be great, thanks.
Okay. I just need to take your name if that's okay.
Of course. It's Miss Beatrice Russell. That's Beatrice, Beatrice, Russell, Russell.
Okay, great. Thanks, Miss Russell. And your telephone number?
0774 0922 166.
Let me just read that back to you. 07409 22166.
No, it's 77 at the beginning. 077?
Okay, got it. Great. Can I take your email address?
Yep, it's b.russell64@xmail.co.uk.
Okay, great, Miss Russell.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10.
Tadi ketinggalan nomor 5 sama nomor 6 ya.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 7 to 10.
Hello?
Hi, Miss Russell. It's James here from Colvin Lettings, just giving you a call back.
Oh, hello, James. Thanks very much. What have you got for me?
I found a couple of places which might be suitable.
Okay.
The first is in the Old Port. Great location, 2-bed flat, available on the 12th. It also comes with quite a large garden, which would be great in summer.
Okay. And how much is it?
It's $12.50 per calendar month.
That is quite a bit out of my budget.
Yeah, well, that's the area for you. These days, it's very up and coming. I do have another place in the Old Port, which is a bit more affordable. It comes in at $1,000 a month.
That's a bit more suitable for me.
Yes, but I'm afraid this property is only a 1-bed. But it's as spacious as a 2-bed, really. And the final property I have for you is actually in the centre. Now, I know you said that you didn't really want to live around there, but this flat happens to be on a quiet little side street, and it's a 2-bed at $9.50 a month, available from the 11th.
Okay. I could take a look, I suppose.
Also, this one comes with a parking space, which is very unusual in that area. When would be a good time for you to view the properties?
That is the end of part 1. You now have some time to check your answers.
Alah, kelewatan. Oke, nggak apa-apa lah.
Now look at part 2. You will hear a man speaking on the radio about recycling in a town called Bookwall. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
As our listeners know, on Radio Bookwall, we like to focus on sustainable living. And today I'm joined in the studio by Kevin, Head of Recycling at Bookwall Council. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi, good to be here.
So, Kevin, how good are we at recycling our waste here in Bookwall?
Well, in the years I've been involved in recycling with Bookwall Council, the proportion of waste that's recycled has doubled. We now recycle about 50% of our rubbish, and that's a real achievement that I'm proud of. But listeners might be surprised to learn that some countries manage far more than this. And, of course, recycling's important in so many ways. Take aluminium cans, for example. Okay, maybe the drinks inside them aren't super healthy, but the point is that, like lots of packaging, cans can easily be recycled, which is a far more energy-efficient process than manufacturing a new can would be. That's a huge benefit, as well as the fact that reusing that aluminium conserves resources. And, you know, in the UK, we throw away about 26 million tonnes of waste each year. To put that into perspective, that's equivalent to the weight of 260 ships. And I mean the large ones that cruise across the seas. That's an enormous amount, and the more of that we can recycle, the better for the environment. We're keen to get the school children of Bookwall passionate about recycling this year. I did have the idea of a competition for kids to make something out of the items in their recycling. until someone pointed out that this might prevent the things from being recycled. So, instead, we're asking kids to submit pictures taken of them or their family actually doing their recycling. I'm hoping it'll be even more popular than last year's story writing competition on the theme of recycling. Bookwall, of course, has several recycling centres across various locations throughout the city. So, wherever you live, you're not far from your nearest one. And recyclers may be pleased to learn that we've just extended their opening hours. So now you'll even be able to go after you've finished work.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 16 to 20.
So, Kevin, can people take anything to the recycling centres in Bookwall?
I'm glad you asked me. It depends. Let's start with batteries. Now, there are many different types, from the little ones that go into our car keys and small disposable ones, right through to vehicle batteries. At the moment, not all our recycling centres can take every kind, so the best advice is to inquire ahead, phone if in doubt, and explain exactly what type of battery you have, and our staff will be able to advise. It's better to do that than bring something in but then find that we can't accept it. What else? Clothes. If there's anything you don't wear anymore or you've outgrown it, we'd love to accept it so you can just turn up whenever you want at one of our centres. Clothing can often be redistributed to those who need it, which is great. Building materials. You can dispose of these if it's your own small-scale renovation project. But to do this, we ask you to reserve a slot at the recycling centre with a couple of days' notice if you can, please. But this service excludes professional builders, I'm afraid. Tradespeople will need to make their own arrangements or hire a skip. Most of our sites can accept furniture, but this is a bit more complicated. Some of our smaller centres can't accept larger items, such as beds, so it's worth having a look on the website in advance. It tells you exactly what can be recycled and where, so you can potentially save yourselves a wasted trip. Goods such as laptops, phones and TVs generally have plenty of components that can be salvaged, so you can deposit these at all of our sites. So feel free to just turn up and drop them off. No need to book an appointment. We just ask you to make sure you put them in the right skip once you're there.
That is the end of part 2. You now have some time to check your answers. Now look at part 3. You will hear 2 literature students preparing for a seminar about a book called Sunrise Lake by the novelist Joyce Clare. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Owen. Shall we do our preparation for tomorrow's seminar?
Hi, Rachel. Sure. So, had you read Sunrise Lake before?
No, but I've always been a big fan of Joyce Clare's other books.
Some were made into films, weren't they?
Yes, but not Sunrise Lake for some reason, which is odd because it was hugely popular and it would have made a great movie. Plus, it was the book which made her a big name. No one had heard of her before Sunrise Lake was published.
Right. I can see why it was a big hit, though. I mean, it's an incredibly accomplished piece of writing.
Yeah, but when it came out in 1961, the literary critics were very lukewarm in their reviews.
How bizarre.
I suppose Joyce Clare's publishers should take some credit for the book's success. They worked really hard to promote it, placing adverts in the newspapers and doing radio interviews.
Right, making sure people had heard of it.
Exactly.
Okay, so what should we tell the other students about in the seminar?
I wondered about saying what other novels Sunrise Lake is similar to, but I was struggling to come up with any, because it's unique, really.
We'll certainly need to explain the plot.
Yes, at least summarise the key events that involve the central characters.
I think the primary thing to focus on is our reactions to the book, especially the heroine and her immediate circle.
And our responses to the people she meets.
Exactly. And the other students may decide they'd like to read the book, or not.
Which is fine. I mean, the idea isn't to try and sell the book in any way.
No, that's right.
So, to get a decent grade, what do we need to do? We've got to run this discussion for, 15 minutes?
More or less 15, but we've got flexibility. Doesn't really matter if we go over that, especially if the tutor or the other students ask us lots of questions.
Well, you know me. I usually like to prepare slides that look really professional. But as we haven't been asked to do that for this presentation, we'll have to come up with another way of getting a high mark.
The assessment handbook says something about finding lines of dialogue from books and using these to sort of explain the character's predicament.
Right, so we need to find extracts that give us insights into what they're thinking.
Yeah, and another thing we'll be graded on is applying the themes of the book to the present day, looking at whether the situation of the characters back in 1960 still has anything to say to our generation.
Oh, right, yeah. We'll have to make sure we do that then.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 27 to 30.
So, we'll need to present the 4 main female characters.
Sure. Starting with Betty?
Okay.
She seems almost naive at the start, doesn't she? Full of youthful optimism.
Definitely, but she doesn't stay like that for long. I think you were suggesting that she's got a lot of growing up to do. But the thing is, she does just that. She certainly grows up over the course of the novel.
Definitely. You can almost see her gaining confidence scene by scene.
What about Sally Baxter? Not such a likeable character, I found.
No, but she had a difficult upbringing, and a lot of things go wrong for her.
Well, that's true. She's often just in the wrong place at the wrong time, through no fault of her own.
I know what you mean, yeah. She often seems to be a victim.
Yeah, poor thing.
So what about the other characters? Who else is there? Oh, well, of course, there's Mrs. Dawson. What did you make of her?
Well, I found it really interesting reading the dialogues involving Mrs. Dawson. She was always very perceptive and able to tell the other characters things about themselves that they hadn't realised.
We certainly heard plenty of wise words from her. She's an excellent problem solver. I was just sorry she didn't feature so much later in the book.
And then the cook. I don't think we're ever told what her name is.
No, but she was quite an inspirational character. Once she made up her mind about something, she was going to get it, whatever it took.
Yes, I thought her approach to life was amazing. She never let setbacks get in her way.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I think we're on the right track. Shall we have a quick talk about...
That is the end of part 3. You now have some time to check your answers. Now look at part 4. You will hear part of a lecture for business students about a method of analysing a business known as an SWOT or SWOT analysis. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
This week, we are going to look at one of the oldest established frameworks for planning business strategy, SWOT, or SWOT analysis. Its exact origins are unclear, but many attribute it to Albert Humphrey, working at the Stanford Research Institute in an attempt to explain the failure of corporate planning. What is SWOT? It is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths being the characteristics of a business that would put it at an advantage to its competitors, whereas the weaknesses are those that would disadvantage it. The opportunities are elements in the business environment that the business could exploit to its advantage, whereas threats are those that could cause trouble. These could then be categorized as internal and external factors. The internal factors are the characteristics of a business that are able to be ranked as strengths or weaknesses. Think about the reputation of a brand leader. This is clearly a strength when compared to a company that is just starting up and doesn't have any recognition. Other internal factors include, but are not limited to, what the company is selling, whether that is a product or a service, how much they are selling it for, all of the staff in the company, the organization's finances, output possibilities, and so on. Moving on to external factors. These are the areas that are beyond the company. They are out there and exist and you can't change them. However, understanding these things that are beyond your control will limit your organization's exposure to shock and ensure that you are ready for an ever-evolving business world. These factors include what your competitors are doing, changes in society and fashions, laws being passed, and trends and factors in the marketplace. So, what are the main uses for a SWOT analysis? Existing businesses can perform one at any time to check the changing environment and react accordingly. Many companies perform a SWOT analysis once a year to review strategy. New companies should also perform a SWOT analysis as part of their planning process. This would help them to better understand both the need for their product or service and how equipped they are to fit into the marketplace. Also, many marketing departments perform SWOT analyses on all their main competitors. Performing this detailed analysis is essential, both for predicting upcoming challenges and also for finding out how to streamline your own business. However, it's not only profit-making companies that use a SWOT analysis. It has become a very useful organizational tool for charities, community projects, and other non-profit organizations. It helps them to understand if an objective is viable and helps management to set achievable goals. So, to recap, the main benefits of conducting a SWOT analysis are that it is cheap and can be done by anybody. Secondly, it gives you a much better understanding of your company or organization. Okay. So, we've looked at the uses and benefits, but there surely must be some limitations to this analysis, you ask. Firstly, it can oversimplify a problem. An effective SWOT analysis is short and gets to the point, and that doesn't allow for a detailed investigation. Secondly, it really is very subjective. It relies on somebody or a team of people making a judgment on what is good and bad. It is very difficult to get the same results all the time. The final and possibly most significant drawback is that all points are equally weighted in a SWOT analysis. It does not give more importance to some points that could be much more relevant to your business or its upcoming situation. So, that is a brief overview of the SWOT analysis. In our seminar later, we will be experimenting with performing an analysis on a well-known company and seeing how effective it is in practice.
That is the end of part 4. You now have some time to check your answers.
Ya, tadi kelewatan nomor 33 sama 35. Aduh. Mana ya? Asal jawab aja.
That is the end of the test.
Udah habis. Jadi gimana? Masih ada waktu sih. Finish gitu atau gimana? Salah. Coba sih. Strengths, benefits, new product, sementara. Sih jalan. Masih dikasih waktu atau gimana ya?
Masih dikasih waktu. Jadi katanya, you know, have some time.
Yeah, that is the end of the test.
Iya.
Udah ngomong kayak.
That is the end of the test. You know, have some time.
Coba ini, aduh yang tadi portal put sama UK. Pokoknya ada UK. Sementara apa tadi? Gmail ya. Ini bukan Gmail ya. Belakangnya ada UK-nya. Saya mau telepon ini, aduh. Kayaknya harus begini. Ya, maklum lah ya, saya terbiasa tes IELTS itu pakai pensil gitu. Nah ini sekarang pakai ketikan gitu. Sementara kalau angka itu di atas, huruf di bawah ya. Jadi harus membiasakan ngetik ini kayaknya. Oke lah, kita finishkan dulu ya. Kita lihat jawabannya. Bismillah, berapa ya? Aduh, banyak kali ini yang salah. Salah berapa ini? Oh, ini salah. Baik. Yang betul apa? 13th of September. Kan betul. Jadi, salah ya. 13th of September itu. Harusnya 13 September aja.
Jangan tambahin kalau ikan.
Oh iya, sebentar. Tadi dia bilang, oh iya, ini kebanyakan. Oke, di soalnya itu bilangnya satu kata dan satu angka. Jadi nggak boleh banyak-banyak. Oke, bolehlah ini salah. Terus yang mana lagi ini? Yang ini apa nomor telepon itu cepet banget ngomongnya. 077409. 221 ini harus cepet-cepet tadi ya. Terus ini brussel@xmail.co.uk. Orang sana pakainya Xmail ya, bukan Gmail. Oh, L-nya 2. Russell, iya lupa saya. L-nya 2. Terus ini tadi kelewatan, yang betul bukan bed tapi garden ya, big garden. Ya, betul. Ini juga tadi nggak kedengaran, in the center. Oh iya, bahasa Inggrisnya harus pakai British ya. Oke, center. Oke deh. Parking udah betul. Oke, terus kita lanjut. Tadi berapa ini yang salah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ada 5 yang salah, guys. Oh ini yang multiple choice ini memang kekurangan saya banget ini. Banyak yang salah. Nah, ini coba ya. The amount of waste that is recycled. Oke, salah saya. Jadi bukan jumlah sampahnya. Jadi apa perasaan Kevin tentang jumlah sampahnya bukan, tapi jumlah sampah yang sudah di-recycle, gitu kan. Jadi please with the progress that has been made. Oke. Terus tadi tentang drink scans, yang betul jawabannya yang B. Pada tadi pertama saya jawabnya B. Oke, nggak apa. Jadi recycling an item uses less energy than making a new one. Good. Oke. Lumayan banyak yang salah nih. Terus Kevin mentions ships in order to explain how much waste is produced. Jadi bukan rubbish. Oke, ini salah. Terus, ini salah ya. Yang betul check for further details before come. Salah berarti salah 1, 2, 3, 4. Yang tadi part 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ada 5. Dan 9 ini yang salah. Aduh. Kalau untuk dapat nilai berapa ya? Saya lupa. Pokoknya jangan sampai salahnya jangan sampai 10 ya. Nggak apa. Berarti harus latihan lagi untuk listeningnya. Terutama membiasakan ini. Tangan ya. Atau jari. This brilliantly written. Betul 1. Terus ini salah. Yang E ini salah. Tadi aku udah betul. C. Oh enggak. Tadi jawabnya. Bukan it was made into a successful film. Tapi it was marketed effect. Ini berarti salah. Berapa ini? Yang ini betul. Yang E. Yang C salah. Yang 2526 malah salah semua ini. Harusnya yang sebentar. Betul ya? Aku tadi jawabnya yang ini. Baca bentar. Ini jawabannya yang mana yang betul nih? B, oke. Sama C. Oh, yang C. Jadi kalau merah itu salah. Yang betul C, gitu, smart. Terus what happens in the story? Ini tadi udah betul ya. Kan. Which other books? Students plan to address and see. What two things do the students say can affect their mark? Sticking to the line. Preparing attractive slides. Ya, mereka melakukan ini, tapi yang bisa iya. Jadi harus betul-betul ini ya, memahami pertanyaan ya. Explaining the book's relevance nowadays. Dan juga jadi yang bisa berdampak kepada nilai di seminar itu adalah using quotations from the book. Oke, apa deh. Another thing will be graded on is applying themes of the book present day of the characters back still has anything to say to our generation. So C ya, relevance. Terus we need to find extracts that give us insights to what the characters are thinking. So extracts ya. Ini apa tadi? We'll certainly need to explain the plot. Iya betul ya. I think the primary thing to focus on is our reactions to the book, especially the heroine and her immediate circle. Yeah. How they feel about the characters. Oke, ini betul semua kayaknya. Alhamdulillah. Ini tadi hampir bingung ya. Apakah yang she is intelligent itu yang Mrs. Dawson apa the cook ya? Saya agak. Oke, nggak apa. Terus ini aduh juga salah juga. Tadi kelewatan. Yang betul apa ya? Staff. All the firm staff. Oke, nggak apa. Terus ini juga. Tadi apa? New laws ya. Shop betul, marketing, charities, cheap, lalu. Oke deh. Kayaknya sih 6,5 ya. Coba kita lihat. I have finished. Loh, mana nilainya? Coba kita lihat. Oh, 6. Nah, ini IELTS. Jadi progres ini hanya bisa tampil kalau kita sudah langsung latihan ini. Yang mock testnya ya. Ya, masih 6 ternyata guys. Oke, nggak apa-apa. Mungkin terutama untuk nilai ini yang bisa langsung muncul itu adalah untuk listening sama reading. Nggak apa, itu tetap kita latih lagi untuk bisa minimal 7 ya. Saya terakhir listening IELTS saya 7,5. Nah ini jangan sampai turun lah. Harus betul-betul mendengarkan. Oke, cukup itu untuk hari ini. Sampai ketemu lagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Coba biar untuk foto ini.